All right, everybody. Welcome to this great episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. We are going to get super vulnerable on what topic there, Jordan?
On shutdown, emotional overwhelm, what to do when you're the one shutting down, what to do when your partner's the one shutting down. It is so relatable, so many gems. Like, this is going to be one where you're going to want to listen to it multiple times. Get a journal or get some pen and paper to write a few things down. Like, it's just gem after gem after gem.
We've got real 100% practical tips that you can use. So if you like this content, like, share, all that kind of good stuff, hit that dingle dongle bell. And if you really like this and you want some more, check out our Patreon, link in the description below. All right, everybody, enjoy this episode.
Buckle up. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. We finally made it to this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast.
It has been a journey
and
through the technological wonders of the future.
Yeah, we live in the future, but technology struggles still to interface with our human existence. We were going to be, if you haven't noticed, if you're watching on YouTube, we are in a different setting because we were going to do on our Puerto Vallarta patio scene. And then literally the moment I came downstairs to say, hey, Jordan, let's go do a podcast.
I have everything set up.
I have everything set up. The weather was like, how about I dump some rain on you? And it was getting a little wet up there. So we moved everything downstairs and we are in our little dining room.
Yeah. Can't you tell it's a dining room with a little art?
Our art and our beautiful
art.
Avocado green wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culture, right? All right, everybody, prepare yourself because this is going to be a powerful and a vulnerable episode about something that I think is very relevant to everybody and has been playing a big role in our lives too. Go ahead, Jordan. Tell them all about it.
The concept of shutting down and closing to your partner. And then kind of the opposite side of that is when you're feeling overwhelming emotions and you're with your partner. Like, how do you navigate both of that? How do you navigate it when you're the one shutting down? How do you navigate it when your partner's the one shutting down? When you're the one having big feelings, when your partner's the one having big feelings? Like, if this isn't a relatable relationship concept, like, I don't know what is.
If you've ever felt big feelings, we're going to talk about that.
If you've ever tried to shut down your big feelings.
If you've ever felt like you've shut down because of big feelings.
If you're terrified of your own vulnerability, especially in relationships.
Stay tuned for this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, would you, just for the sake of clearing the air here, would you tell our audience what your definition of shutdown is?
Yes, I will do that as soon as I think of what it is. Yeah, shutdown is like when, or like closing. So like if we think about an intimate space, so intimacy is when like the space between two people is not a wall, but it's like a field that connects us. And so intimacy is when we are like open to that field, open to giving, input to that field and to giving connection and to receiving connection. So like shut down and closing usually for me happens when my inner world is so chaotic and usually painful and parts of me are going to war and there's like big feelings and it's confusing. I shut down from the field that connects us. Like I shut down from giving anything to him or receiving anything from him.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I think it's very similar too from a masculine perspective of a lot of times like intimacy, I think from the masculine is a very kind of guttural connection of like you and I are sharing the same energy. A field is a great analogy. It really feels like when we're in really positive intimacy, we're almost kind of like melding our energies together. We're mixing the colors into something really beautiful. Shutdown is when you pull those two things apart for whatever reason. There's parts of you, going to war, or parts feel like war is upon them.
Or it's not safe.
And they literally, prepare for war. They dig the trenches, they stack up the sandbags, they load up for ammunition, and like you close yourself And I think one of the big things that I've always noticed receiving shutdown and closing from somebody and like feeling that emotion towards someone is that your parts start to change from I'm dealing with a human being that I love and that I care about, from this is someone that's trying to hurt me, trying to attack me. And like, this is no longer a person. This is the
They're a
enemy.
problem
They're a
or the
problem,
enemy.
or the
Yeah.
enemy, or my victimizer, all those kind of things. Like you subjectify, is that a word?
Sure.
You subjectify whoever is supposed to be in intimate
Or
contact with you.
dehumanize.
Dehumanize, yeah. And like that is a very like just icky
That's the
feeling.
opposite of intimacy.
That's the opposite of
love.
yeah.
The opposite of where healing happens.
Right. And shutdown, a lot of the times for men, shutdown is literally like, I am shutting myself, I am cutting myself off from you. So like being silent, being like really mean is another way of like shutting down. Yeah, critical or like just mean, just like saying mean shit.
Yeah, when you're just like saying mean shit in those moments, like when you're shut down, like what's happening in your inner world? Like what
You're at war.
Yeah,
like
what
you're
is
launching
mean
bombs.
shit like? Okay. Oh, okay. So you're at war with your partner.
Yeah, you're at war with yourself and you're at war with your partner, and like you are firing artillery shells. Like you are solving a problem, and that problem is that like a line has been crossed. There's so many reasons for shutdown. We're going to get into that, but like a line has been crossed and like it's on.
Yeah, for me, I like signs that I'm closing or that I'm shut down is resentment. If I'm like going into resentment, usually like my parts, like what they're shutting down is the part of me that wants to fire off those artillery. Like they're like, no, we don't do that. We just like keep it all inside, which just makes me, I'm just sitting in a stew of resentment and like criticizing you, but like in my head. And it's just becoming this big thing. Like, yeah, you stop becoming a person. You become like an inconvenience, or you become somebody that I'm afraid of. Like usually I'll also, start experiencing shutdown when I'm feeling a big feeling and I don't feel like it's safe to feel this feeling around you or with you, or that you're like, your parts might think that I shouldn't be feeling this feeling. So I've got to keep it in. And so that means like I close from the field that connects us so I can like try to get rid of this feeling so I can go back to being like who I'm supposed to be around you.
Right. So shut down, I think we've all probably experienced it in one time or the other. And I think one of the most painful things about shutdown is a lot of the times it's such an unconscious like lizard brain takeover because it's one of our basic survival instincts to like,
and it feels so right. It feels like this is absolutely what needs to happen right here. Like it just feels like whatever story you're telling yourself is like the correct one.
That's an interesting thing. Like for me, it's never felt right. It's always felt really bad, but it's always felt like this is my only choice.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean. It's like it feels compelling. Like it feels like so compelling that I don't have the flexibility within myself to like look at this or approach this any other way. Like that's what made me think about when you said the lizard brain thing.
Yeah, because it's basically our freeze and in some cases flight too, where you shut down the situation by like attacking somebody, or it's literally you just end communication and just sit there in silence. Like I have experienced this where you are just in such a painful place with all of your parts, because like your parts can sometimes be like they're just racing to find a solution. Dude. And your inner world is just this war zone, this bombed out war zone, but like you're in the moment and someone is like giving you that stare to like fucking answer me right now, and like all you can do is just close your mouth and just be like, nope, you are not getting a fucking thing from me. And at that point too, it also starts, like you were saying, it starts to get really resentful where you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking, you want answers from me, well fuck you. That's what a lot of shutdown when it comes to like communication in relationship, when it really gets out of hand, it just comes to a big like kind of haymakers of how much can I say fuck you to you.
Yeah. But it happens in like, at the beginning, like in smaller ways. Like between you and I, it doesn't usually get to like that point, but it does get to like, even if you're there and like what's happening, like your parts genuinely just want to be connected to me and whatever I'm feeling. But like for whatever reason, I have plenty of reasons that make perfect sense of like why my parts don't feel safe actually like letting you in.
Mm-hmm.
And that, even just that space can be kind of painful because especially with my parts, because we're like, well, shit, he wants to connect with me, but I don't feel like safe to connect with him. And I don't even know like what to say. And I'm going to say the wrong thing. And then I'm going to hurt him. And then he's going to close off from me.
That's that like crazy when,
God damn,
man, your parts are just like, it's literally like, I don't know, some analogy you can make. There's plenty of like movies where everyone's just panicking all at once.
Yeah.
And, buy, sell. Everybody panic.
But it's like there's one part that's like, everybody panic, and the other part's like, keep your composure, everybody keep it together.
Whatever you do, keep your composure.
Yeah. It's like, God, it's like it's so hard to find peace within your own self, connection with your own self, much less with your partner.
Mm-hmm. So if you've ever felt something like that, we're going to talk about what to do with that.
Yes.
Because would you say you've been experiencing some shutdown recently?
I would say that, Joseph. I have been, my emotions have been all over the place. Like I am just riding the walrus and it is bucking hard. With whatever's happening with my hormones, I don't know, but whatever masculine containment I usually have to like contain my own emotions or like process through my own emotions, like guide myself through them, I just don't have it in the same way. And it's actually really healthy for me because it's really healthy for me to be feeling the feelings that I'm feeling. But it has been very challenging.
It's a great slogan. You should be feeling the feelings you're feeling.
Yeah.
Are you feeling the feelings you're feeling?
Most of my life, no. But it's, God, just a side note, everybody, I have been feeling my feelings. Business is improving. My overall, like how much fun I'm having in my days is improving. Our relationship connection is improving.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that I think that will improve by like figuring out the problem is actually improving by just feeling my feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
Feeling your feelings works. Doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, turtle, it works.
It works. God damn it. I wish it didn't because then I could just go into like figure it out mode. Like, oh yeah, feeling your feelings. That doesn't actually like work. But like it does work.
Nope. This is the new era for humanity that we're bringing forth for everybody.
Yeah, it's just vulnerable as hell. And it's vulnerable enough to feel your own feelings, much less like actually genuinely let somebody into like what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the shutdown.
Yeah, because I would say for a lot of us, being in a semi-shutdown state is almost a like default safety setting for a lot of adult humans. Mm-hmm. I know for a lot of men, it's a very much a like, let me put up my wall here first and see who you are before I let down my wall. Mm-hmm. And that worked for some people because that's what you've been trained to do, but there's many more positive layers to life when you can come with less walls.
Yeah, more vulnerability
and a deeper connection. Like people you don't know what you don't know. And if you've never actually felt like deep intimacy with somebody, you'll be like, whatever, that's bullshit. That doesn't exist. But then when you actually feel it, like it shudders you.
In like the best way. Mm-hmm. I had never felt it until with you.
Me neither.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and this is kind of the crummy thing too. I had felt more shut down in my previous relationships than it felt like I was getting more and more shut down the more and more I got intimate or attempted to be intimate with people. I just kept running into more and more instances of like, nope, I gotta batter up these walls. And when I was a single guy, like I met so many dudes who just had this initial sentiment of like, yeah, you don't let down those walls because then someone's just going to climb in there and shit all over you. And that person is called every woman, which is not true.
That isn't that just like the battle of the sexes, because women feel the same way of like, yeah, if you let a man in, you know, really let him in, he's going to end up cheating on you, or he's going to leave you, or like he doesn't want that kind of stuff. Like he wants a low maintenance woman. Like don't let him into like what you're actually feeling.
It's funny because men, they do want low maintenance, but low maintenance doesn't mean like do nothing.
Or
Low
have
main
no feelings.
Yeah, low maintenance means be at a level where I can work with you. Because
Hmm.
men like inherently masculine beings want to serve, want to provide, want to be a leader. But like if you have none of the tools to do that for your partner, then like, yeah, it's just a problem that can't be solved. And a problem that can't be solved is a fucking hassle.
Interesting. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So if what do you mean if you don't have?
So like this is the thing. Most men, your run of the average just dude knows probably not very deep ways of connecting with people. Doesn't understand masculine, feminine polarity, never watches the Heart is a Muscle podcast. So, you know, they only
So
learn.
already, if you're watching this, you're not just a run of the mill
You're
dude.
not. No, that is 100% true. You are not. You are above average, and
Mhm.
you're going to experience life way more. But like, hark, because let's make an analogy here. If you've ever tried to like, let's say you're fixing a bicycle or something like that, and you have no fucking idea what you're doing. Every second you're working on that bicycle, it is a huge hassle because you're like having to figure it out while solving the problem, and then you don't do it right because there was something you're supposed to know that you didn't know, and then you end up with a big pile of shit or a bike that's not working still, and then you got to pay someone. It's one of those things versus if you are a bicycle mechanic and you've done your homework, you've worked on this, you've tried and failed a couple of times. Next time you work on that bike, you're like, I know exactly what to do. You get the job done. You might even enjoy it. And then in the end, you've got a working bike. Works no different for relationships. It's just
Fascinating.
most of the time, there's not a lot of relationship mechanics out there. There's a lot of relationship. I've done this because I want to get laid and like I have some basic needs I want to get met, but man, intimacy, whatever. And so a lot of the ways that we protect ourselves from that is building up shutdown as like a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And like it's such a shame. I mean, because women have our own versions of that. Like the
absolutely.
feminine, like we can just talk about even the feminine and masculine energies with this too, because shutdown is something that happens in any sort of relationship between any two human beings,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's two feminine creatures to each other, you know, like it's just something that happens. It can happen as we're like interfacing with another human. Oh shit, there was one thing I was gonna say.
It'll come back.
But I really liked that bike analogy.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I really want to break down a lot of these bullshit stereotypes of like men want, they want a low maintenance woman. They want one of the guys.
Maintenance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were you saying about the low? So like when you don't have tools to work on the bike, then that's when you want like somebody that's low maintenance, so you don't have to like learn the tools.
Well, so low maintenance, I think for a lot of the times for most guys is kind of a code of like just be something I can understand or just be something simple because all I know is simple because
Mm-hmm.
most like male relationships are very simple in that they're very direct, they're very open, they're very clear on like boundaries of what you can and can't cross because a lot of the times we just kind of set this up in our own simple masculine way. Like most men with your friends, like you kind of understand what you can't talk about. If you start to get close to that, sometimes you make a joke about it and you kind of move on. Like intimacy is one of those things that usually throws a huge wrench in that thing because intimacy is always kind of pushing that understanding and that boundary
Yeah.
further than like what's comfortable. A lot of it is just like when dudes say they want a low maintenance relationship, they want an easy relationship
Yeah. And
that
like
like they can handle.
yeah, like because when I hear that, when you're like, I want something simple that I can understand, it's like I want you to be more masculine.
It's not even see like this is the thing. There's so much bullshit about oh I really enjoy like a masculine woman. No, you don't. You don't because that's a friend. You're not gonna like have sex with your friend who's a man. you want a feminine creature, you want femininity, but when you don't know what it is, you don't know how to understand it, it's just confusing.
Yeah, because like,
and you don't want to be confused.
I, as a feminine creature, I cannot be simple. The way that I can be simple is to put on a masculine mask and disregard what I feel and not give a fuck about things. Like, I have been a low maintenance girl. Like, that has been how I've survived. Like, I have been in like previous relationships, like I can do that. I have a strong enough masculine that can just like be something that's simple. But like, I, as a feminine creature, like I will never be able to like be something simple that you can understand. Like a part of my inherent, like
Disagree.
a part of my inherent being is chaos.
True.
Like it's absolute. So I'm not saying that you clearly have the tools of how to like ride my bike, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
I've ridden that bike.
Yeah, you have the tools of like, like it can be simple to you how to relate to the feminine, but me as a person, like I would be doing myself a disservice if I try to be more low maintenance.
Yeah, and that's true. So how many relationships have started off great because like the girl really tries hard to be like simple, easygoing, and like not let the shit bubble to the surface. Like don't bring anything, don't have too many emotions, and then like you get into it, 3 or 4 months pass by, and you're just at each other's like throats because like you're really now opening up who you are and letting emotions out. This is the same for men too. Like we want to share our vulnerabilities because we want to expand who we are. We want to grow. That's inherent to us, and when we have opportunities to do that, we take them. But a lot of the times we are met with confusion in the same way of like the feminine doesn't know how to like communicate with. We're basically just like two confused entities, like just bumping up against each other when we really try to be vulnerable,
and when all we really want underneath is just to connect with one
we
another.
want to connect. And then this is where we build those shutdowns and experience shutdown, because a lot of the times our parts that have just traumas or misunderstandings, or they were abused in some way, or they've gone through this one too many times and now they've built up walls
and are just like also clinging to their beliefs about who men are,
right,
or who women are.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's really rigid.
Yeah, there's just too many like stupid beliefs out there. I don't want to say stupid beliefs, but like not helpful beliefs.
Yeah, that I've made, like the stories that I've told about men from my own experience. Like if I cling too tightly to those stories, then I don't actually open myself up to experiencing men any differently, how I actually want to experience them.
And that's, perhaps probably the first way that you can start to work with shutdown is to look at what are your kind of closely held beliefs about how relationships should be,
and how you should be in
and
them.
how you should be in them. Because a lot of the times you'll run up into a buffer of like, well, if I'm not like this, then like someone's going to abuse me. Whenever you run up against a belief and the part of you that like answers to what if I try this different, and it's like I'll be abused, I'll be hurt, I'll be taken advantage of, I'll be killed, that is a place where there's shutdown waiting.
Yeah, so it's like shutdown, like what is the edge of vulnerability that you think is safe in relationships? Because that's what shutdown is. It's just like shutting down vulnerability.
What she said.
And so like I can be this vulnerable in relationships, but if I get any more vulnerable, like I'm going to be abused, I'm going to be taken advantage of, it's not safe. And like we were having this conversation just this morning of vulnerability inherently isn't safe.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not safe. That's why it usually creates so much sexual tension when like you do navigate it with somebody else effectively.
Yeah, I've been really pondering on this too, because vulnerability is such a key thing to healing both men and women, that it has like this, it's almost like a connection point of masculine and feminine energy. It's almost a unity where like it requires like half of kind of the basics of femininity, and it requires the half of the basics of masculinity. And so that's why it is such a uncomfortable thing, because it is the point where you expand outward from. And so many times our shutdown is just trying to close us into a smaller and smaller container because that's what feels safe.
Yeah. Yes. To protect us from our own vulnerability. Yeah. And I say this even like with parts too, but it's true for everything. Like healing happens when your vulnerability and love meet. And so like you can't actually move forward with your partner, or even like if you're with yourself, if you are shut down protecting yourself from your own vulnerability. Because then there's not an opportunity. You're not like letting love meet you there.
Right.
Like the sweet spot for me, like where as the walrus has been bucking and like I'm feeling all these feels and it's overwhelming, and like I move between shutdown and like emotional overwhelm. Like what the thing that has been like my guiding rock is to let love meet me here.
Yeah.
Like yes, my vulnerability is here and my fear can be here, but like also let love meet me here. And actually, like now that I think about it, I've like really fully taken responsibility for letting the love inside of me meet me in my emotions. Like I'm not actually like needing you to be that love for me. The love that you are showing to me during this time is like such a bonus that I'm letting in, and that is like providing even deeper healing for me. But like that is how I have learned to navigate my shutdown, is like, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable, but I'm also going to like let the love inside of me be here too.
Yes. Very profound. All right.
Boom.
Boom, boom. So let's talk about, how do you recognize shutdown?
Yes.
Because I think a lot of the times we find ourselves in shutdown and you're like, how did I get here? And you're like, I'm stuck now.
Yeah.
I'm in the trenches and I can't just walk out of here.
So relatable.
What are some, let's say from a feminine perspective, what are some of your signs that shutdown is upon you, or you're feeling shut
I'm
down?
closing.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of them. One of them is I start projecting my resentments onto you. So usually, especially for me lately, like the edge that I am working toward is asking for my needs, even when they're like higher maintenance or a little inconvenient. Like alone time is an example of like, there's a part of me that's terrified to ask for more alone time because I don't want to hurt your feelings. But and like I should need alone time and that kind of stuff. I'm learning so much. We're gonna have to have a whole episode on like asking for alone time and needing alone time in relationship. But very often, instead of me leaning into the vulnerability of explicitly asking for what I need, I will shut down and like resent you for being here.
Yeah, get on out of here.
Fantasize about a different life.
Oh yeah,
where I don't have to be explicit about my needs.
That's another thing. Fantasizing about another life.
Yes.
That's fantasizing about the grass is greener, if only like,
yeah,
whatever.
Yes. Very often that is just me trying to protect myself from my own vulnerability. Like, oh, if I can just live this other life where I don't actually have to feel this vulnerable and I never have to be this vulnerable and I don't have to be explicit about asking for something that feels vulnerable for me to ask for. So that's one thing that I noticed a lot. And then also I notice my mind will start going really fast. Like, and there just seems to be like no good way out of like, oh, I can share this with them. Oh no. And then another part's like, oh no, you can't, because then this will happen. But like, I got to share it. But like, it's like,
when it's a lose-lose.
It's just like a lose-lose loop that keeps going.
The lose-lose loop.
The lose-lose loop. Yeah. Yeah. Those are some things that I noticed.
It's funny. Like I want you to continue, but like check these all for masculine shutdown as well.
Yeah. I think it's just kind of human nature. Yeah.
The lose-lose loop is a huge one for men, because like as we hit this problem we're trying to deal with, whatever, if all we're getting is bad solutions, eventually the only solution is no solution.
Yes. Another way that I shut down is I go super into my masculine, into figure it out mode.
Yeah.
And like I'm just problem solving, and I'm just like trying to figure out why I'm feeling what I'm feeling, or like how I can get rid of, like I start using even parts work in terms of like seeing my parts as problems instead of as like beings that need love. So like really what it is protecting myself from my own vulnerability and leaning into my own vulnerability.
Yeah, you're like walling up all these vulnerable spots. You're basically like trying to, you got a sinking ship here and you're trying to plug the vulnerability from getting into your ship.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And it's just like my figure it out parts are like, if we could just figure this out, then we could just avoid having to feel the feelings.
Yeah. Avoidance.
Yeah,
like thoughts of avoidance.
Yeah. And I would also like a side note of like the reason why I need alone time, why I'm realizing I need that, is because there are just because me feeling my emotions and being vulnerable was so dangerous, like growing up with my dad in particular, so like with men, that there are some parts of me that just won't let me access my own vulnerability around you. So there is like an element of that, but there is also an element of like, I'm afraid to be vulnerable around you, and I just have a habit of deferring to you and shutting down like my, my own vulnerability because I'm around you, and it's easier to just like shut it down and like, be chill with you or something. That I have these parts that are like, we need alone time because you're not actually paying attention to us. Like you're not actually feeling us. And so,
Get out of here.
yeah. So I would like something that I'm experimenting with is like, yes, like getting like leaning into the vulnerability of asking for more alone time when I need that, but also leaning into the vulnerability of what's the vulnerable thing that I want to say to you or that I want to share with you that I'm not saying.
So before we get into that, so you've had some great ones so far.
Yeah, I think those are all the ones that I can think of so far.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me see if there's any other from mine. Like quietness. Quietness from a man either means a few things. Either he's trying to like puzzle something out in his mind, which is usually so benign, like no worries. And usually you can ask like, what are you thinking about? And he'll tell you. But like quietness also can be of like, I am preparing myself for like something, and shut down a lot of the times. Like I've experienced this. I've seen men experience this. And I've heard from basically every man I've ever known who's ever been in a relationship, when they get in a tough situation, especially if they are feeling attacked from their partner, which this is something that feminine energy will do when like provoked, is to attack and blame and shame. You just cut off, just shut that down, cut off. So silence is a big indicator, especially for men, of like, I am shut down right now. My walls are up. Another one is, especially for masculine energy, is trying to shut down the situation. Like literally interacting in a way of like, let me tell you the facts about why whatever you're saying is wrong, and you're stupid, and you're a bitch, and you should go fuck yourself, and also your stepmom, your mom should go fuck herself. So like being like verbally attacking, even like in extreme cases, and this is really bad, like physical attacks to like shut down a situation. That is shut down. That is like, I am shutting this down.
Thought of another one.
Yeah, what would you think of?
It's an interesting form of shutdown, but humor and making jokes and like making light of something, or like changing the subject. Like sevens have a habit of doing that a lot. Like I feel like that's kind of their go-to, what I've noticed. And I'm like, I don't know how, like, you're just so funny. Like I'm laughing now, but I also know that there is like some vulnerability you're protecting yourself from that I want to know, but like clearly you don't want to tell me, so I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's 100% true. And that one's a little bit, that's an interesting one, because yeah, humor is such a versatile tool.
Yeah.
But before we get off that, the like physical attack, like shutdown, that is not acceptable. Like that is like the worst of the worst. And it is,
don't do it.
Don't do it. It's unfortunately like sometimes the last tool we have in our toolbox to face our shutdown. But don't do it, people. Please don't. And don't tolerate it either. Okay, what else would be a good shutdown?
Oh, for me, just checking out.
Yeah, check out. I mean, that's
smoking a bowl.
Yeah, drugs and
playing games on my phone.
Other avoidances.
Just like quick dopamine hits, just one after the other, scrolling.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the biggest like one of the biggest crises that we have. We got a lot of crises today of like, there's a lot of people just stuck and shut down because they're just hooked on dopamine, hooked on like just getting that quick drip of whatever their phone is giving them, and they're just shut down, because when you don't get that, life is just painful. And most of it's because you're not connected to life, and
you have some feelings to feel.
There's lots of feelings to feel, and like there's no intimacy with anybody and no vulnerability with anybody.
Yeah, like also give yourself a lot of grace with that too. Like, yes, like I do think that is something that is kind of is like, I don't know, like robbing us of our own life is just our, our scrolling and just like our quick dopamine fixes and like becoming addicted in that way of like living half of our life, like
More than
living,
a life.
yeah, living like barely alive, barely here, like not even really here. But also, so like this is something that I'm navigating through myself as well, because that's like one of the biggest like things that I'm addicted to is just like the quick hits of dopamine. And I am navigating that as my own inner leader is like, okay, when is this actually like helpful for us? And when is it shutting? And when is it like not helpful? Like when is it going to be more nourishing to do something else? But the whole cocoon I'm having around that conversation is we live in a crazy fucking world today. Like, I don't know if humans were meant to like hang in so much like global tension with our media, like being so connected as it is. Like, we are just inundated with so much bad news.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about this with some friends. I'm not afraid of AI taking over the world. I'm afraid of AI just making this world so fast and complex that like we just kind of we are in just total checkout and shut down all the time.
Yeah.
We just lose our humanity because all we have is just constant bombardment.
Yeah.
And AI is just going to make that faster and easier for people to do.
Yeah. So I'm also just like giving myself a lot of compassion around that too, because for those of us who get really caught into shaming ourselves for the ways that we're navigating life, it's like also like put this into context of like everything that you're being inundated with every single day. And out of all the things that you can turn to, fentanyl's on the menu.
Oh, fuck.
Like playing games on your phone actually might be like a very valiant choice of the part of you that wants to shut down.
Yeah. So all of these are very, very, I would say, well-tread signs of shutdown. So what do we do now? Because I think one of the things that's going to break the spell is understanding the tools of what to do and then doing something about it.
Yeah. And I actually think it's pretty simple.
It is very simple. It's not like some math equation here. You don't need to know calculus to do this. It takes bravery because we're going to get into vulnerability again. Sorry, everybody. Vulnerability is going to be what saves us.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But vulnerability is the way.
So should we talk about the relationship with ourselves first when we recognize that we're in shutdown, what to do?
Well, I think it's the same. I think it's the same for our relationship with ourselves and each other.
Our external relationship with our partners too.
Yes.
So what you want to share what's been going on with you and kind of how we've tread those waters?
Yes. So I'm realizing the whenever I'm in a shutdown or whenever I feel myself like closed, I am learning to ask myself, is there a feeling that I'm trying to avoid feeling? Like what's the vulnerability I'm trying to avoid? What is the action I'm avoiding taking? The vulnerable action I'm avoiding taking? What is the vulnerable thing that I'm avoiding saying? What is the vulnerable feeling that I'm avoiding feeling? And so that vulnerability is your path out of shutdown into more aliveness, into like who you are blooming. Like that is the thing that's going to move the needle the most in whatever the fuck you want to achieve in this life. Is through your vulnerability. And so like that's something that I have been getting in the habit of asking myself, especially like when it comes to playing games on my phone or something of like, okay, yeah, this can be well and good as a time, like relaxing and resting. Like that's important. And that's also how I relax and rest. But to ask myself, is there a feeling I'm avoiding feeling by doing this? Like am I doing this to create a wall, or am I doing this to like genuinely relax? But one thing that we uncovered the last time I was really closed with you is for you to prompt me into my vulnerability when you notice that I'm in shutdown, or like when I even say like, okay, yeah, I'm closing, for you to ask me like, okay, what's the most vulnerable thing you can do right now?
Yeah. And I
fucking hate that question, but it's the exact one that I want and I need.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I think, a fun prompt that you can do either way. It doesn't have to be from a man to a woman or a woman to a man, but this is one of the ways that you can help your partner try to navigate out of shutdown, is prompting that same exact question. Like, I'm sensing or feeling you're kind of in a shutdown right now, or like you're obviously shutting down, because we've listened to the Hardest Muscle podcast and we know exactly what shutdown looks like now. What is there a vulnerable thing that you're not feeling or not expressing? And if there is, I would like to participate in helping you do that. That's the invitation, because this is the thing that a lot of people really kind of get sideways on when it comes to like helping your partner enter into a more vulnerable space. Is it's like, let me help you solve this problem of you not being vulnerable, which puts you in a dynamic of you're broken, so therefore let me fix you, which doesn't work, because it's not that we're broken and we need fixing. It's, hey, I'm noticing something about you and I'm in tune with you. How can I help you invite yourself into a deeper conversation?
So love can meet you there.
So
like, how can I help? How can I love you where you need it most right now?
And importantly, now men, listen up 100% right here. Always ask if you can come along on the journey, because you want to invite yourself along to say, you look like you're in shutdown here. What's the more vulnerable question that you should be asking? And can I participate in helping you find that? Like, you may think that sounds sissy, but like, that melts them. Gets them wet. And it starts to heal. It starts the healing process, because that is, you need an invitation into a deeper conversation, as our Lord and Savior David White always says. And
God bless him.
That really is such a more helpful and healing invitation than like, are you in shutdown? Like, we should do something about that.
How can we figure
shut
this
down
out
right
for
now?
you?
Yeah, let's figure this out for you right now. It just
No.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah, just invite them into their vulnerability of like, what's, if there's something vulnerable that you want to say or express, I would love to hear it. And then validate. Say like, oh, that makes sense. Or if it doesn't make sense to you, like, ask questions,
Yes, that's a great point, because sometimes this is something I even get stuck on sometimes, where you'll be talking about a story your mind is telling you, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's not true. That's not real. That's not like anything. And this is all, of course, in my head. I'm not saying this because that'd be kind of rude. But like, I can't just come out and be like, nah, you're wrong. Like, shut up. But like, what you can do is validate that, like, that is their experience, and ask questions so that they can find that deeper truth within there, because it may seem completely obvious to you that what they're talking about is nonsense, but not to them.
Okay, I just gotta plug this because goddamn, it will change your life. Dudes, join Parts Work Academy, because like if that's happening, if you're like, I don't know what the fuck is happening, like you actually do this of like, that's not real, like that doesn't make sense. Like, I don't want to validate that as something that's true, even, because like that doesn't actually make sense. Yeah, that's not like, especially when they're saying something about you that's not actually true. To just even know the language of parts of like, oh, okay, so a part of you is feeling that way. Like, oh, okay, yeah, a part of you is feeling that way. A part of you is thinking this. Already, what that sets them up for is like, it helps them blend from like being just so caught up in that part of them, for them to actually have some spaciousness within themselves of like, oh yeah, oh, that's a part of me. Like, that's just a part of me, and they can find some more agency within themselves.
Right. And eventually, like, I've experienced with you so many times where you've been really vulnerable sharing about something that a part has, and I'm just like, whoa, what do we do with this? Because this is so crazy that this part has this like firm belief. And using parts work, you can help guide that conversation, and you can understand what the hell's going on. Where you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why you're talking crazy, part. And then you can guide your partner so they can understand it. And even that part of them that holds that belief starts to understand it. And then they're like, oh yeah, wow, that was crazy. Like, I don't need that anymore.
It's so healing, and it's so sexy. So like, if you
There's also that.
If you are a dude or just even somebody in general that has a partner that like experiences a lot of emotions that are
And you don't know what to
overwhelming,
do
and they're
about it.
overwhelming to you too, fucking join Parts Work Academy. Like, it is going to change that whole dynamic for you.
Yes.
You're gonna like look forward to those moments, because those are gonna be the juiciest
Yeah.
moments
You're
where
gonna feel like such a boss.
you're gonna feel like such a boss, and they're gonna think that you're such a boss. Like, fucking join Parts Work Academy.
It's the good stuff. And let's continue on with what we are here, because this is also very, very helpful. Because yeah, it really is for shutdown, like to break down those walls. Like vulnerability is like the biggest dynamite to blowing like those dams up.
Yes.
And it does it in a way where it's not like, oh kaboom, oh fuck, oh wow, now I see the light. It's this like it's such a melty feeling.
Yes.
And like it really connects you in such a like intimate way that you feel almost like one. Like tell them about this morning and like kind of how we navigated that after breakfast.
Yeah. Oh man, I had a really heavy part of me that usually, like, I have another part that's like, we can't talk about that part that I have, because they'll for sure leave us if like that's what we bring to the table. Like, that's the opposite of low maintenance. Like,
Before we
this
jump
is
into
heavy.
that, can I kind of explain what happened this morning?
Oh yeah.
So like we kind of woke up this morning and you were a little bit heavy. What was going on this when we first woke up?
I don't
Anyways,
know. I had to go upstairs and feel something.
yeah, you were feeling some feels, but there was still some heaviness, and it was like, oh, it's great. It's Sunday. We're gonna go out for breakfast. We're gonna go to this place that I had picked out that looked really great. And it was a little bit of a hike. We kind of got there and we're hot, and we're like, okay, now we're a little uncomfortable. But I could tell you were really like trying to keep it together, but you were not enjoying yourself.
I was on the verge of tears the whole time. I started
like,
crying a couple times.
And I was
I
like,
could not
okay,
help it.
this is another like thing where I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna like panic here and be like, oh my god, we gotta go home and like and deal with this. It was like, we're gonna do our best here at breakfast. I know you're dealing with some stuff here. We're gonna deal with it when we get back home. I'm just gonna kind of help guide us along here and be with you, send you helpful, loving energy, just really try and be kind to you while you're struggling. Just taking initiatives where it's just like you were sitting in one area and just sweating your ass off, and then they put a fan behind me, and I'm like, oh, this fan's really great. And then I look and I'm like, you're also sitting in the sun. I'm blocking the fan from you, and I'm like, hey, switch me spots here. You need the fan. You're hot, whatever. And so we switched spots, and that helped. You were like,
Yeah, it was way better.
it was like whatever. That's masculine initiative right there. Notice the situation, make a decision, and just do it. And like, if it's not perfect, whatever, but it'll make it better. And so we kind of finished up breakfast, and it was just like, okay, you are literally about to just like burst into tears. Let's just go home and see what we can do about this. And pick up from where we were.
And so I was on the way home, man, I was just experiencing this heavy ass part of me, that like the self-hatred kind of part. And it was like, whoa, even to me. And so there's a couple things that I want to say about this. But so usually when I'm experiencing this really heavy part, I'll have another part of me that's saying, we can't talk about that heavy part. Like, we can't show him that heavy part. Like, that's a level of vulnerability in relationships that's too much. Like, he is going to leave us. Like, we're going to be criticized. Like, he's going to withdraw from us because it's too much. And so we can't actually talk about that vulnerable thing.
Right.
Yeah. But because we have built so much trust together, and because of just the work that I have done within my own self,
and because there's no level of vulnerability too much for any relationship,
for love,
like pure statement right there.
Love wants to meet you there.
Yeah,
love wants it all.
You don't have to believe that until you experience it, and then you'll understand.
Yes.
Please continue.
So, and also, especially so for those of us who have disorganized attachment, that means we have parts that really crave love, and that kind of like want love so bad, want like intimacy and connection, and like want to share the most vulnerable thing and have somebody meet us there. Like, that's what we want deep down. But we also have the other half of us that have been abused by the people that were supposed to represent love to us growing up, aka our parents usually. And so there's these parts that really want love, and these other parts that are like, vulnerability and love is abuse. Like, it's dangerous. We can't actually let people in. And this is where, God,
It gets
that is
messy.
the hardest dynamic, because he could be there, you know, wanting to be let in, and I just can't. I just couldn't open up because the parts of me are so fucking terrified of vulnerability. If you are experiencing that, fucking join Parts Work Academy, please. Like, Parts Work will help you navigate that and help untangle that in a very safe way. So
Link in the bio below.
yeah. Yeah. So luckily, like, through the work that I have done, the parts of me that are like, we need to avoid this vulnerability. Like, you know, this isn't safe. Like, those parts, I've built enough trust with them that I'm like, okay, even no matter what Joseph does with this, like, I am still here and I will love us. So I was able to like let him in. Like, so usually something that would happen is like, we'd get home and I would just be stoic, like I would be crying, or like just off in my own world and not actually available to like connect with you. And you'd be there like trying to help me, but like I'm not really communicating with you, and I'm still in kind of shutdown and overwhelm because like I'm afraid to actually let you into what I'm feeling. But what happened today was I just really let you in. I let you hold me. I shared what I was feeling. You guys, he said nothing.
Yeah.
He said absolutely nothing. Like, it's a heavy part, you know, like most people I would think would be like, you know, wanting to console or wanting to like say, oh no, that's not right. Or like what, you know, would want to help make that part kind of go away. You were like, oh yeah, like, I just want to be here with this little part. Like, yeah, this is like, can I hold you? And then you did, and then you said nothing. Like, you were just like, you know, like you like gave me some
Yeah, I'm like
responses,
not
but
just like sleeping over here.
yeah, but he wasn't trying to fix. This is what I'm saying for the masculine, because I think it can get kind of hard as the feminine's really starting to let you into like her internal chaos, to get lost in that and feel like, and try to help her fix it. Like, you don't actually, you really don't. You really don't. It's
Yeah.
just about witnessing it.
It's a lot of the times I have to check in with my parts too, who will start to like listen, and then they'll kind of start trailing off and into like, okay, what can we do about this? And it's just like, no, like just wait. Just wait. Nothing needs to happen right now except to be here and witness. So just wait, parts. Like, it's okay. We'll get there.
Yes. Like, and I think it's because you just anchor yourself so deeply into presence of like that's what that is. Just wait. It's like, let's just be present for a second. Let's keep being present. You anchor yourself so deeply into presence that I was like, it was within like a few minutes I stopped crying, and I was like, God damn it, he did it again. Like, I don't know what he did, but like I just feel better. I just feel like, wow, like something energetically happened.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah, like big time. And then, yeah, it was just a safe place. And we ended up taking a nap, and I woke up feeling like it was another day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was, that's just a one directional thing for masculine to feminine, but a lot of it is some of the key like takeaways here from that is that you have to allow the experience and be in tune with your parts to allow your partner to experience what they're experiencing openly, vulnerably, even chaotically, and be in that seat of consciousness to be like, I'm here to witness and participate with you. And another thing too was literally sharing energy of like, yeah, are you open to being held right now? Because that's a like physical touch, especially masculine to feminine, feminine to masculine, like it's a huge energy transfer. And you were receptive to that, which is always a good thing. So
which was a vulnerable thing. Like, I had to lean
yeah.
into my vulnerability to even allow myself that much love.
And sometimes that is a very triggering thing for people who've been abused, who had physical abuse. Sometimes you got to take it really slow. We were able to just cuddle up. And for me, like, it was a lot of just being present or returning to the moment, breathing deeply for myself to send that rhythmic energy to you so that you can emulate that to try and help you self-regulate. And then, yeah, it's just sitting there in the seat of consciousness, being present with your partner so that they can work through. And yeah, I didn't have to do a fucking thing. Like, and then it all kind of like solved itself.
Yeah. And it was really, I mean, but also like I was doing a lot of inner work, like having a lot of conversations with my own parts, like
And we did talk
as you were
stuff
doing that.
too. Like there was times where, I would check in with you and you would say kind of what your part's story was.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you shared like, yeah, there's a part of me that just wants to die right now. And it was really dramatic. Like this part was really in you. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, okay, let's be here with that part. And then again, inviting that part to say, okay, why does it want you to die? Like, tell me more about what that means to that part. And like, it took a few prompts and a few tries. I don't even know if we ever really got to a like, oh, this part needs this thing or whatever.
Need to.
Yeah, because this is like, again, remember, this isn't fixing a problem. There's no like answer you're trying to get to. This is connection and intimacy, which is it's kind of squishy. And sometimes by the end of it, you're not really sure what it is, except
or what you accomplish,
except that like you're in this moment now.
Yeah.
That is better.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what I want to highlight, you did like ask me questions, but like that's actually all you did was ask me questions. Like you didn't give me a statement of how I should be feeling or what I should think instead or anything to try and like help or like solve it. You just like prompted me into more of my own clarity and like vulnerability and then held space for that.
Yeah.
And it was really, really healing because it was a part that other parts of me are really afraid of and especially was afraid to bring into our relationship. And so it was really healing for this part that I'm so afraid of, for you to be like, I'm not afraid of, with your energy of like, okay, yeah, I can hold space for this too.
Yeah, because that's sometimes to be really explicit when like chaotic things are happening. So often there'll be parts of us, like you've said a few times, that are just like, this is too much for them. Like they can't handle this. Like we need to shut down. We need to blah, blah, blah. Where you can vocally say like, I'm here to be here with you. Like, this is not too much. Like, this is great. Like, I'm glad to be here with you. Let's continue going.
Those like, please repeat those words verbatim to the feminine. When she's in her overwhelm or she's shut down or she's sharing something with you that's like really big feeling or feels chaotic, to say this is not too much. Like I'm here with you. Like verbatim those words, like something in her will melt and shift.
Yeah, because it's
or him, whoever the feminine person is.
You're not like, what do I want to say here? You're not appeasing that this is an okay situation to be in. You're acknowledging that this is where you're at and that I am here in the same place with you, but it's okay. And there's no fear. There's no need for fear here.
Yes. And just the concept of like, I don't have any agenda for you other than I just want you to know you don't have to feel this alone if you don't want to.
So yeah, that was our morning, and here we are, all happy. You're feeling better?
Open as fuck.
Oh yeah, we're gonna dig into that later. That's also the kind of on a final note here. The fun thing about working through shutdown is that on the other side of that is openness. Both men and women,
like belonging
and connection, where you want to share more deeply, and a lot of the times that's when the fun happens.
Yes, there's nothing that makes me hornier than like an emotionally vulnerable conversation.
And that's not unique to you. That is the feminine. So there you go, boys. So that was a great episode. But man,
gem after gem after gem. I hope this was good for you all, because
this was helpful for me.
The real deal. Was it helpful for you?
Yeah, it's fun to kind of go back through it and share all these perspectives. And yeah, I feel great.
I do too.
And hopefully you all feel great. So again, we'll have to dig into more of this because this is a very relevant topic, and I'm sure a lot of us are feeling this out there. So do your best.
Yeah.
Be kind to each other.
Leave a comment or reach out, send us an email with how this is landing with you, because I would love to hear, especially after this one. I would love to hear.
What we also want to hear is, did we not go deep enough into something? If there's something you're on, you guys said this, but like, this is my situation. We want to hear it because we want to find what you guys need and help you out with that. So comments, love, hate maybe too. Why not? We're here for it. We're open for it. Anyways, until next time, everybody, this is the Heart is a Muscle podcast, and be good to each other out there.
Mwah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. We really enjoy creating this content for you, and we want to share some more resources so you can get even more content. So take it away, Jordan.
That's right. If you want to follow either one of us on socials, if you want to work with either one of us, if you want access to our YouTube channel, if you want to buy our book, links to all that stuff is on our Patreon. So that is patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. Now, you don't have to join Patreon to get access to those links.
But you probably should. The more that you support us and support this channel, the more that we can create this awesome content to help support you, because that's really why we do this. We want to make your guys' lives better, and your support really matters.
Yeah, and what you'll get when you join Patreon is a shout out in our next episode, and you will also get access to listener requests where you will get to request what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
So from the Heart is a Muscle podcast to you guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the feedback. We really, really enjoy it, and we'll talk to you all later.
Truly love you guys so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.